This week on Dance of Joy, we learn a Myposian ritual, we ponder the deliciousness of a forbidden lamp donut, and we completely blank on the name of a common yoga pose, even though we're South Asian. All that and more as we watch Season 3, Episode 2 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Sophia. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined by my favorite co-host and my brother. What's up, Imran?
Hi, Sophia. What's up, listener? I'm feeling great. I just started a new diet this week.
A new diet? Why? You look great.
You know what? Everybody can use a little self-improvement. You may have heard of it. It's called the seafood diet. I see the food and then I eat it. Boo.
This is going great. It's more funny.
Now I'm going to boo myself on that one. Sorry, that's
How
a
many
dad
kids
joke.
do you have?
have
Because
none.
that's definitely a dad joke.
That's what makes it even worse is I'm not even a dad and I'm spitting out dad jokes. But
All right, but diets are are a good subject for today because we are about to talk about Perfect Strangers Season 3, Episode 2, which is called Way to Go Buddy. And way is spelled W-E-I-G-H. Way to Go Buddy, which of course is a pun on the expression way to go, buddy.
what? That's what you just said.
W-A-Y to go.
Oh, way to go, buddy.
To go, buddy.
This episode's TV guide description, if you crack that book open, says Larry diets without shedding a pound until he agrees to go on Balky's Mypos diet, consisting of fisheye soup and pig snouts, which does reduce Larry to a junk food maniac.
Oh, boy.
Clever writing in the TV guide description there.
This episode, as every other, stars Bronson Pinchot and Marklyn Baker. And we also have Marianne and Jennifer in this episode, played by Melanie Wilson and Rebecca Arthur. And this episode aired on September 30th, 1987.
Let's get into Act 1 that opens in the apartment. And Balky is folding a bunch of clothes for a neighborhood clothing drive. Look at this charity. But right away, it's time.
Yes, there's piles of clothes all over the living room.
It's very important to donate your used clothes, listener. Larry is sitting on the couch watching him, and he notices how much Balky is giving away. And he goes, "You're not going to have anything left for yourself." And Balky says, "Happy is the heart of the cheerful giver." And then he goes, "Besides, these aren't my things, they're yours." He's just
Open with a quick joke, quick gag.
giving away Larry's things.
And Larry's like, wait a minute. And he grabs this like sport coat jacket that Balky's holding up. He grabs it from Balky. He's like, this is my high school chorus jacket, which he later mentions has always fit him perfectly.
Yeah.
But he puts it on and he's like all like reminiscing. He's like, got a lot of memories in this jacket. And then he can't quite button it up in front. And Balky says, maybe you should take some of the memories out of the jacket.
I love that line. First of all, it doesn't even come close to buttoning up. Like, it doesn't move at all.
And then, this is like the very quick setup. It happens so quickly in the beginning of Act 1. Larry runs to the bathroom, steps on the scale, the bathroom scale, and we hear, "Oh my Lord, I've gained 7 pounds." So here we have the problem, right?
Yep.
Larry's gained 7 pounds. I need to pause right there because this is episode 2 of season 3. We just last week talked about how the new season started and both of the cousins were looking very skinny.
Looking skinny mini, as they say, yes.
And they still do in this episode. So it's kind of funny. And I have some thoughts on this that we'll get to later. But it's kind of funny that the premise of this show is Larry gaining weight.
He doesn't look
he's
like
tiny.
You can't,
What
is he?
He's a tiny little man.
He's like $140, $150.
Yeah.
And
Oh, my
since
goodness.
when did he gain 7 pounds? In the last 15 years? Like, how long did this take? Really?
Right. And 7 pounds is nothing.
It's not, no. Well, it is, but it is something in terms of what he's going to do with this 7 pounds
Right.
also. Just then, Jennifer and Marianne stop by, and hey, they're still on the show. Good to know. They must have moved with them to this new building that everybody lives
They
in.
must.
Right?
Yes.
Or they know where they live. I don't know what's going on.
I think
Still on
they
the show.
magically moved with them to the new building, but nobody moved. The building just transformed around them all.
Somebody changed the reality at the molecular level to just whoosh, like a Disney show. So, they're there with their full 80s big hair and they're wearing
Oh
their
my God,
flight
Jennifer's
attendant
hair is so big
uniform. It's always
in
perfectly,
front. The bangs are huge.
it's always a perfect wall.
Coiffed.
With
Perfect coif.
So they're
Yes.
there to drop off a bunch of clothes before leaving on a 7-day trip to Australia. There's that number again.
Yes. We know they're going on a work trip. They're wearing their work uniforms.
And so she puts the clothes down and she's like, "Oh, these are all too big for me now." And Larry's like,
Burn.
Yeah, Larry puts the jacket on his on the donations, and Jennifer notices the jacket and goes, "Well, oh, this is a nice jacket. What is this?" He goes, "Oh, it's my high school course jacket, but it's out of style." And then Balky chimes in and goes, "Also, he's gained 7 pounds and the jacket don't fit anymore." Embarrassing. And then Larry goes, well, of course, most of it's muscle, puffing his chest out, trying
to be cool
trying to
for
look
Jennifer.
slim. And then Marianne comes in. This whole time, Marianne has this amazing, wide, bug-eyed look. Jennifer tests to Marianne. Marianne just goes, "If I gain 7 pounds, I die."
Oh my
and
gosh.
looks over there, and I was like, "Oh my God, Marianne."
Oh my gosh.
well,
7 pounds is not that
She
big a
goes,
deal,
"I would
people.
die." And Jennifer's trying to make him feel better. Goes, "Larry, you look great." And she goes, "I think a little tummy on a man is cute." No, that was
which
not.
doesn't help,
that's-
Larry.
That's not the right thing to say to a man who's gained some. But Marianne is like, "No, it's over."
It's like that's the end of the world. I would die. I would
She's
just die.
shocked that her eyes are great in this whole scene.
My goodness. Okay, so then the girls leave, and Balky's like, "See, Jennifer thinks you and your tummy are cute." And Larry's like, "Yeah, like the Pillsbury Doughboy is cute."
He's cute.
And then we see our favorite, beloved, frenzied, panicky Larry, which I really think we need like a good nickname for this Larry every time he comes out. Frenzied, panicky. Anyway, we'll think about that. And he's like, all right, no need to panic." And of course he's panicked because every time he says, "Don't panic," is when he's panicking. And Balky's like, "Well, I wasn't aware that I was panicking." Very calm. And
Yeah.
you see this like contrast of attitudes right here. Balky's super calm and Larry's losing his mind. So Larry, of course, makes a plan because he's Larry. And he plans to lose 1 pound a day so that by the time the girls get back in 7 days, he'll have lost 7 pounds.
What?
And this is how he's going to do it. He says, "I can do it. I'll eat nothing and exercise continually." Which is like, to me, I heard this line and I was like, this is so emblematic of like the whole diet mindset in the 80s and 90s in America,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Deprive yourself, burn the calories, etc. So he's like, "I'm going to eat nothing. I'm just going to exercise." And right there, he starts jogging in place.
That's amazing.
In the living room. And he's got this crazed look.
Yes.
His eyes are bugging out. He's determined. His face is really kind of manic. And Balky's like, "I love you, this and that, but listen to me when I say no way."
And he's doing short breaths in and out in his pink shirt.
Yes,
Just
he's like,
jogging in place.
just jogging in place. And Balky doesn't think Larry can do it that way. And Larry insists that he can. He's like, all it's going to take is self-discipline, sheer iron-willed self-discipline. And then Balky goes, "Well, you wouldn't have to iron your will so much if you let me put you on the Mypos diet."
Whoa, what do we got here? Mypos diet. I like that. Iron your will, because you say
Iron your will.
iron
Yeah, he messed up iron. Yeah.
Stop ironing your will so much.
Yes. And this is Balky taking an American idiom and making it literal.
And of
Yes.
course, Larry is gonna scoff at the Mypos diet. He goes, "Oh, what do you do? Cut down on the pig snout?" All condescending, and
Okay.
he's just staring at Balky as he's
Oh my God.
jogging in place.
This stare was so funny. I rewound this and watched this because there's no dialogue. He goes, "Cut down on the pigs now." And then he doesn't move his face.
Yeah.
He doesn't blink. He keeps jogging. I don't know how these two actors kept straight because he kind of like puts his chin down.
Yeah, and it's pointy.
And his mouth is
his
open
chin's
a
all
little.
pointy and weird looking. Yeah.
And he's like staring with these wide eyes. It is so funny. I was
It's a
dying.
crazy look. There's a bunch of moments in this episode where
Yes,
they're trying to
there's-
crack each other up, and sometimes
There
it
was
works.
a lot of good unspoken comedy
Yeah.
and physical bits in this episode. That's right. But anyway, the first one was right here when he just keeps jogging. His legs are moving. No one's saying anything. He's just staring at Balky with this like insane look on his face. And
And then there's a bunch of great lines where we learn stuff. Balky goes, no, it isn't a pig snout itself that's fattening. It's all the junk you put on top of it.
Which is also-
yes, that's a thing. What do we say?
also a very parallel
Yes.
thing that we hear a lot about diet.
Or like the
among
baked potato.
diet
It's like it's not
culture.
the potato. It's not the baked potato that's fattening. It's all the stuff. Or a
It's
salad.
not the coffee.
Yeah,
it's
not
all the
coffee,
cream
it's all
and
the,
sugar.
It's not the salad, but the
It's-
dressing, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. We say this all the
Right?
time.
Very astute. So then Larry scoffs again. He goes, a country whose king weighs 300 pounds? Becky's like, he has a gland problem. Okay, doesn't make fun of a guy with a gland problem. And Larry goes, he holds the world's record for eating jelly donuts. Bucky goes, he's also very competitive. So they have a competitive king with a gland problem.
With the gland problem. We're learning more about
And you want to eat the pig snout clean. You know, you don't need any
Without
of
all
the
the
trimmings.
junk. Yeah,
Yeah.
steam it,
Don't put,
steam
you don't
it.
need the shredded cheese and the sour cream
Don't
for the
bread it.
pig. No,
Yeah.
you don't need to fry it. Just boiled,
Steam it.
grilled pig snout is
Yes.
healthy.
So Larry, of course, is scoffing at all of this, and he'd rather stick to the American diet.
And here's a
he
great line.
says,
Yes.
we know about dieting. We happen to be the fattest country in the world.
Oh my God.
And he's still jogging in place,
How-
as he
but
says.
come on, how much crazy truth is in that statement? Like circular, amazing circular logic.
Even
It's
more
so
true now than ever,
funny.
yes.
It's so good. We know about dieting. We happen to be the fattest country in the world. Yes, you would know.
So he starts jogging around, which is funny because he calls out the Myposian king for weighing 300 pounds. And like there's quite a few Americans who easily weigh 300 pounds. It's like not even a big
But then he
deal.
just calls his whole country fat in the next
Right.
slide, which is great.
Right.
Yeah, nobody's
so
off
he
limits.
starts
It's all
he
over the
starts jogging around the couch. And he's like, the only diet I need is the Larry diet, and all the Larry diet takes is willpower. And then he says, and when it comes to food, I am Mr. Willpower. And Balky again is like, let me put you on the Mypos diet. And Larry's not having it. He finally stops jogging for a moment. He turns to Balky, and then he gets very harsh, in my opinion. He says, Balky, listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. And when he says that, Balky leans in close to Larry, like leans his ear closer in a little moment of small physical comedy. And then Larry says, I don't want to hear another word about the Mypos diet in my lifetime.
Yikes! Not until
Yikes.
you gotta wait till he's dead to
That's
talk about it, huh?
harsh. And then he starts jogging again, and Balky just kind of gives him this look of disdain, and he's like, well, don't worry about that, Mr. Gutbuster. Which I feel like is a callback, a reference to some like 80s diet culture thing or commercial.
Well, Gutbuster used to be like the name of
Gutbuster.
like a big hamburger or a big sandwich, like the
okay,
Gutbuster.
yeah,
Let me get the Gutbuster.
So, and then Balky turns to go, and Larry's like jogging in place in the living room. Balky turns to go back to the back toward his bedroom, and Larry like jogs backward to like follow him alongside him. Then Balky like realizes he forgot something, and he turns and goes back, and Larry jogs forward, matches him again, and then Balky realizes what's happening, and he like fakes him out and then runs into the bedroom.
Larry just shoving it in his face that I am not taking your diet. Look at me. I am
just
jogging right
in
now.
place.
First of all, losing a pound a day for 7 days is
quite
not
drastic.
healthy, and it's very
Yes.
hard, and it's not sustainable, and I wouldn't recommend it.
The healthy rate is like 1
pound
to
a
2
week.
pounds a week. Yeah.
So, Sophia, you'll notice Balky and listener is wearing lots of crazy, fun vests and clothes, and we're going to hear about them in Balky Duds later, but you could get your very own Dance of Joy Duds right now.
Joy Duds.
Visit our TeePublic shop, danceofjoypod.com/shop. You could get a nice t-shirt, a hoodie, a baseball shirt, a tank top, lots of Dance of Joy logo duds to show that you listen to the show and you love Perfect Strangers. And there's other stuff like mugs and cell phone cases and lots of fun things and face masks.
Stickers, face masks.
If you get something, take a photo, post it, send it to us. We want to shout you out and share it. danceofjoypod.com/shop for your swag. As we continue to the next scene, which is late that night in the apartment, we hear the fun kind of 80s spy, Fred Flintstone, almost like
It's, you know what it is? It's
sneaky
the music.
burglar music.
I called it, for the listeners in the notes this week, I called it the 80s sitcom sneaky burglar music. But it's also like that music we hear when, like, it's the middle of the night and someone's awake and doing something they're not supposed to do. It's this, like, suspenseful music. I think that's what the
sitcom
caption's called.
suspenseful, tense music.
But it's playful as well. It's not, like, scary.
And why is there tense music? Because Larry is sneaking out of his bedroom into the kitchen. This diet doesn't seem to be working because he rummages through the fridge making noise as Balky comes out of his bedroom. Look, he's got a bedroom. He comes out of his own door. He doesn't sleep on the sofa. And he's carrying a very large shepherd's stick, like a shepherd's, what do they call it? A crook. Which is like a long stick with a big round bow at the end of it.
Like, think Little Bo Peep. Little Bo Peep carries.
And that's for protection, of course. He's ready to attack the intruder. Larry hears him, and to try to be even sneakier, presses the button for the light on the refrigerator, which is hilarious.
To turn
the fridge light off. Like, maybe if I stand still and turn the light off, he won't notice. I've done that trick where late at night I'm at the fridge and I'm like, I'm just going to hold this closed because this is throwing a lot of light. I don't want people to see me in my eating shame.
I'm embarrassed.
At which point, Balky flips on the light in the kitchen, yells, freeze, and you see Larry, and he's got like chicken legs and bowls of food, giant turkey leg. Balky goes, so this is what happens to Mr. Willpower when the sun goes down. Yeah, he didn't do too well.
So we have seen Balky with a sheep herder's stick before.
In the rent strike.
The rent strike episode, if you remember, he used it to wake up the tenants who were sleeping in the store. Yeah. It was different. That one was a bit smaller.
Stick, which is what? Okay.
And this one that he has in this episode is ginormous. And if you remember the pilot episode when Balky shows up, he doesn't have that much stuff with him.
Where does he get all these? How many different sticks?
Is he asking his relatives to ship him?
I imagine he has, kind of like a bunch of kettlebells or steel mace sizes. He's got different shepherd's crook, different sizes.
Yeah, did he just buy them in Chicago
there's
somewhere?
There's the 18-inch one. You need the little one. You got the big one. He's got different sizes.
Where is he getting them from?
From the sheep herder's convenience store, of course.
The outlet store, the shepherd.
At some point, I bet Chicago would have like a little Mypos, like a Myposian section.
Oh yeah,
where all
next to
in the Ukrainian village, next to Devon Avenue.
It's next to Greektown.
Next to Greektown.
Larry is caught, and he admits that he can't do this diet on his own the way he was planning. And he says, all that exercise and no food, that's no way to lose weight. I don't know what I was thinking, which is so funny because, like, as an American woman of a certain generation, like, I have been through all these very same thoughts that Larry is thinking several times in my lifetime. We all know this.
Yeah.
So Larry's like, I can't do this. And he asks Balky for the Mypos diet.
Whoa.
And Balky is like, wait a minute. Let me get this straight. You want me to give you the Mypos diet? Well, I'm going to have a little bit of trouble with that. Why? Because I'm not allowed to mention it in your lifetime.
Yep, this is
Boom,
true.
in your face, Larry Appleton.
To throw it back at him. And I love when Balky gives Larry a hard time, especially when it's well-deserved in this situation. Balky goes, are you sure you want to give up the Larry diet? You know, the one where you eat nothing all day, then at night you eat everything in the refrigerator except the light bulb?
Oh, my God. That sounds just like the Sophia diet.
Really? You leave the light bulb? He goes, did you leave the light bulb? Larry's like, yes, I left the light bulb. So Larry goes, I renounced the Larry diet, and he begs Balky to give him the Mypos diet. But Balky's still going to give him a hard time. He says he can't because Larry made fun of his king. Yes, you did, Larry Appleton. You knew this was going to bite you in the butt later. Larry takes that back also desperately. He goes, I love the king. I'm sorry about his gland problem. Balky goes, he has big bones too. And Larry goes, the biggest, the best. He's the envy of monarchs everywhere.
Yeah. So Larry is now begging and groveling to get the Mypos diet. And Balky finally agrees to give him the Mypos diet, but only because you're so pathetic. And then even after he had to grovel for this, Larry thanks Balky, and then he continues to knock on his culture. He's like, I'm not going to have to eat any strange native dishes, right?
Of course you are,
okay,
Larry.
first of all, Larry's been living with Balky for like 2 seasons now, and he's still so xenophobic and so rude about his culture, even though it's been a while, and he knows it's, and now he's even begging him for the Myposian
But
thing.
then he's like, you're going to make me eat weird stuff then, aren't
putting
you?
down, yeah. And so then Balky goes, well, of course you don't. Don't be ridiculous. And then he's like, you're not allergic to fish eye soup, are you?
Larry instantly starts like gagging in his mouth.
Which is so offensive. So offensive. He makes this gagging face.
He's like, whoa.
Balky's like, it's not as bad as it sounds. So offensive.
But then Larry turns around. Larry is just all over the place. Mr. Flip on a dime. He turns around and asks Balky to promise him that he'll help him stay on the Mypos diet after just saying, I'm not eating your weird stuff, Balky, but I need you to promise me that I do not cheat and I eat all your weird stuff. And Balky goes, you want me to promise? And Larry goes, yes. And then Balky kind of scrunches up his face and he grabs his chest and then he moves them to his head with his eyes closed. And then he places his hands on Larry's head as if he threw something on him and then just rubs his hands on his face as he runs them down to Larry's chest. He finishes this whole promise move by bringing his arms in the air into like a cactus move that you would do in yoga with your arms out to the side and to the bottom. And now that was something we couldn't think about, and we had to take a break for the last 5 minutes because we couldn't remember this yoga move.
Oh,
Sophia.
my God. Okay, for the listeners, I am like crying in laughter. And if you hear some funny editing is because we had to cut out this whole segment where my brother and I, we both do a good bit of yoga. And mind you, we are both of South Asian heritage.
Kind of where yoga came
the
from.
The birthplace of yoga. And for 5 minutes, we could not, for some reason, both of our brains synced and at the same time blanked completely. This is how you could tell we're related. We both blanked on cactus pose.
I couldn't remember cactus your arms, and I'm sitting here.
We do it all the time, and both of us in our respective apartments.
And I'm sitting here with my arms up, going, "What do I look like? What is this?" I feel like Beavis and Butthead is Cornholio.
We tried to Google it, and we couldn't find it.
And I'm like, cactus.
From a search. So we actually had to pull up one of our yoga videos and speed through it until the teacher.
And of course it's cactus. You look like a cactus when you put your arms up, and I couldn't. I'm like, what do I look like? What is a tree? What is this?
I don't know if this is entertaining for the listeners at all, but I am crying. I just laughed so hard. Cactus.
Okay, so
pose.
Balky finishes this whole thing with a stupid cactus pose, and he says, I just performed the Mypos ritual of promise. Oh my God. Larry looks at him and goes, am I still a Presbyterian? But Balky goes, yes, it means the earth may crack. The sky, the earth may crack, the sky may fall, but I will never break my promise. Oh boy, this is gonna bite Larry in the butt again. And that brings us to the end of Act 1. This is a strange situation where, sister, I don't know if you agree, I think this is just a 2-act story here.
Yeah, this is a rare, at least by the way that we've been keeping track of the act breaks, which usually is a pretty clear blackout before coming back with an external shot into the next act. This episode seems to have only 2 acts.
Also, stay tuned later for the amazing pajamas details that Balky is wearing in this scene in the middle of the night. They're amazing. I'm not even going to comment. We will hear about it later. Yes. But if you want to leave a comment, listener, about an episode we're recording, join our Facebook group. It's called Dance of Joy podcast group, and there'll be a link in the show notes. But what we're going to start doing is I'll be posting what episode we're recording that week, so you can leave us a comment on that episode, and we can include it in the show, and we're going to have some from this episode from our listeners a little bit later.
Yeah, and that's because if you haven't caught on already, we record our episodes about 3 weeks ahead of when they air.
That's just for like safety so that we have a little buffer. But
for our own peace of mind.
But
yes.
we want you guys to be involved. And now that we kind of figured out a rhythm and figured out what to do, we will post on our Facebook group what episode, or you can just guess about 3 weeks ahead. And if you're farther ahead, that's even better because then we'll get to it. But there you go. So join the Facebook group is the other thing because I want to get to know all you guys.
And so now we get into Act 2. Act 2 begins, it's 4 days later, and we're back in the living room, and Larry steps onto the scale, and he is just thrilled, just overjoyed to see that he's lost 3 pounds in 4 days.
Wow.
But he steps off the scale and starts to have a bit of conversation, then he casually looks at the scale and notices that the scale without him on it says -5 pounds.
What are we talking about?
What?
Aha. So then Balky nervously admits that he tampered with the scale so that Larry wouldn't get discouraged.
Uh-oh.
And then Larry realizes that he's actually gained weight. And he says, I've gained 2 pounds. Balky, I gained weight? I could have eaten chocolate and gained weight. Instead, I've spent 4 days eating fish eyes and pig snout and little squishy things I don't want to know about. Okay, 2 comments. 1, he's still being very rude about Balky's food.
Yeah.
And 2, this is another sentiment that I have had many times in my life. I'm like, what? If I was going to gain weight, I could have been eating ice cream this whole time.
And I feel for you. You have the frustration. I know you have stubborn genes, but that's the thing. It's like I could have been eating good. I could have been eating burgers the whole time.
If my body
what is the point of this?
Yeah, and it's more complicated with women and all that stuff, which is interesting that this storyline has a man going through it. But yes, it's often like, what was the point of depriving myself
but
if I was just going to gain pounds?
Also, sometimes a gain can be followed by loss depending on what you're doing. As Balky explains to Larry, the first few days of the Mypos diet, you tend to bloat up a little, but that weight will go away. Balky's like, come on, Larry, just have something to eat. Sit down. Larry goes, fish eye soup again? Balky goes, fish eye soup again. And he goes, soup is good food, which is a reference to Campbell's soup campaign in the 80s. You may remember these commercials here. Maybe this will jog your memory.
Soup, home-style soups, down-home, delicious and different. Campbell's soup is good food.
I kind of remember that.
I remember it for
soup
sure.
is good
I heard it in
food.
my head as soon as Balky
Oh,
said
that's
this
awesome.
line.
Yeah.
So Balky starts ladling this soup, and did you happen to pay attention of like what the soup
It was like
in the ladle
clear.
looked
It looked like clear with little black
just had
things in it.
a lot of things going
Yeah.
on. It had like leaves and sticks and who knows, all sorts of things, textures. And Larry stares down into it with these like big wide eyes, presumably staring back at eyes in the soup. And Balky says, now I want you to eat it while it's hot. If you let it get cold, the eyes will get tough.
Oh, you don't want tough eyes. It sounds like a yummy broth. Like maybe there's some kind of bone
fish
broth
eyes
in there.
are meant to be nutritious, I think. I've heard that before.
Yeah, you don't want them to get tough, though. So, chewy. What is up, chewy fish eyes? Now we get some physical comedy that we all wait for. And like, this end of this episode I loved. I think I watched it twice because it was wild.
This next bit is so good. So Larry, it like transitions to the next scene. Larry is at the kitchen counter on a phone. This is now where their phone lives, at this kitchen counter.
Yeah, there's the phone. I was
And
wondering
I guess
where the
they
phone
only
is.
have one phone now.
That makes more sense. Yes, you don't need 2 phones in this tiny apartment. Come on.
But the apartment's bigger now, but they have fewer phones.
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay, so he's on the phone. And we hear him go, hello, Pioli's Pizza?
Oh, I know
And
Pioli's
he's like,
Pizza.
I want that pizza now because there is a man here who has not had real food for 5 days and he is very, very hungry. Okay, pause.
Yes.
Pioli's Pizza, according to the external shot, is just downstairs.
It's the floor level. It's right downstairs. He could have just ran down there and picked up a slice.
Why is he ordering
And hit
delivery
it from
by
Balky.
the phone?
Also, now we know it's a day later, so now he's been on this diet for 5 days.
Yes.
And still doesn't consider Balky's food real.
I mean, let's be real, though. I say that it's just downstairs, but In real life, we are in a pandemic, and I have definitely ordered Postmates from places
That
I
are
could
downstairs.
have
It's across the
walked
street.
to. Yeah,
That's all right.
Not from across the street,
Yeah.
but maybe like a few blocks.
It's okay. You get it for me. I don't mind.
Yes.
But there's a knock on the door suddenly, and Larry goes, "Oh, they're here. Thank you." And he hangs up the phone and runs to the door, thinking it's the pizza, but it's Balky with another big pile of clothes that he's going to donate. And Balky's like, "Everyone has been so generous in the building." He goes, "They gave me the pants off their backs."
Of course, he means the expression is "give me the shirt off your back," but it's really funny to mix it up with to think of people giving pants off their back.
They gave me the shirts off their feet.
Yes.
Pants off their back. So Larry is trying to get rid of Balky because he just ordered this pizza. And he doesn't want to get caught. He goes, Balky, you got to get more clothes. It's more generous. And then he's trying to get Balky out the door, and he opens the door, and the pizza guy is standing right there with the pizza. Larry quickly slams the door shut. Balky goes, "Who that man?" And this is hilarious. Larry
This
goes,
is the best ever. I laughed so hard at this.
Larry goes, "Census taker." He turns around, opens the door, he goes, "Two," and then he closes the door and shuts the door. It's so good. He just yells, "Two," and shuts the door.
Gosh.
What did that pizza guy think was happening?
This was September 1987, so probably the census was like in the news and in the culture because the 1990 census is probably, the counting had probably started, so this is probably a very timely reference, but it was so funny. He just opens the door, he's like, "Two,"
Two.
and he closes it.
No pets, two. But they do this every 10 years?
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I've ever, they were around a few years ago.
Now they do it by computer.
They kept coming to my house
and mail.
2 years ago and kept knocking on the door, and I was like, "Who are you? I don't know you people."
I think I did it by computer in the last one. Anyway.
But then, so Larry's still trying to get Balky out of the way to get his pizza. He says he's lost so much weight. You can get in my room, take whatever you want, Balky. All my clothes are now too big for me. As he pushes him in the bedroom, shuts the door, and runs back to the front door to get the pizza. But then Balky comes right out of the bedroom immediately. So Larry has to stop, turn around, hard stop, run back, grabs Balky's chin, and shoves him back into the bedroom again. He's like, "No, it's okay."
Shuts the door again.
He's like, "No, get some clothes." And then Larry runs back to the front door, opens the door, grabs some cash from his pocket, throws it at the pizza guy. He goes, "I want it to be a surprise. Thanks, bye." At which point, Balky comes out of the bedroom. Larry opens the door and flings the pizza like it's a Frisbee.
The box,
The
into
pizza
the
box
hallway.
with a nice spin out the hallway, slams the door. As Larry tells Balky, he goes, "Take all my cashmere sweaters. There's a really nice
He's like,
sweaters."
"Did you get the sweaters?
Oh,
All my
cashmere
cashmere sweaters. Take them." And he puts them back in the bedroom, shuts the door. He runs back to the front door, into the hallway. This time he shuts the apartment door behind him. And Balky comes out of the bedroom. He looks around, and then he walks to the front door. He opens it, and we see Larry holding the box of pizza. The pizza box is open. There's one slice in his hand and another one in his mouth, and his eyes are like wide open like a deer in headlights, startled because he's been caught again. Balky is like, "I don't believe this." He takes the slices of pizza out of Larry's hand, tosses them in the box, holds the box in front of Larry's mouth, hits the back of Larry's head, and he spits out this bite of pizza which is a gag we've seen before, but it's so, so funny. And then he's like shaking his head, and he like grabs the pizza, and goes in the apartment, and Larry like follows him eagerly, like a little mouse, right? And Balky's like, "You should be ashamed of yourself," and he dumps the pizza box into the trash can, and they're in the kitchen now. And Larry tries to pass it off like he's changed his mind. He's like, "Oh, I don't want to lose weight anymore. I'm happy with the way I am. I'll go get the pizza."
I'll go get the pizza.
And so now here we see this comedic trope of repetition that's about to happen, combined with physical comedy. So he goes, "I'll go get the pizza." And then Balky grabs the back of his sweater, right? And like pulls it up just in the air. And Larry, obviously in real life, this isn't a big deal, but he, like Mark Lynn-Baker does this like ragdoll thing.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's hanging
it's
from
so great.
a hanger
Yeah.
or something,
Yeah.
right? With Balky holding up the back of his sweater, and he like can't move. And then so his arms are like hunched, it's just like this ragdoll thing. And Larry's just hanging there comically, and Larry's like, oh, this is about the promise you made? Forget about the promise. I'll go get the pizza again. And he tries to swing around, but Balky is still holding him. So he obviously in real life he could just walk away, but he swings back to being held
to hang
by
position.
Larry.
Yeah.
Yeah, to hang position. And then he tries again. He's like, Balky, this isn't Mypos. It's America. People break their promises all the time. That's why we have all that Indian land.
Oh, jeez.
And then he goes, I'll go get the pizza. First of all, yikes at that Indian land comment. And then Balky still doesn't let go. And then, Larry's still hanging there, stuck.
The three "I'll go get the pizzas" were so funny. They were
I'll go
so
get
funny.
the pizza.
I'll go get the pizza, and then he's just
I'll go get the pizza.
flails his arms and he's not moving.
Yeah,
It's so good.
and then he puts on this fake swagger, still trying to convince him that he's over this diet business. He doesn't care anymore. He's like, forget about the pizza. And then Balky lets go of the sweater. And he's like, the diet is and you could tell he's faking because he's over the top exaggerating. It's like, the diet is over, and that's that. I mean, it's just a few pounds. I can learn to live with it. Hey, maybe it's a good thing. The world loves a fat man. First of all, he's not fat. He's
at
still
all.
super tiny, skinny.
He may have a little gut, maybe tiny.
He goes,
That's it.
The world loves a fat man. He's like, tell you what, I'm going to go out and grab a bite to eat. And he starts to move to the front door, and Balky does one of these things where he grabs him around the middle and just wholesale picks him up and holds him perpendicular to the ground.
He picks him up and just holds him sideways.
Parallel to the ground.
So we saw him do this a couple episodes ago where he was in a squat. But this time, Bronson Pinchot, full extension, standing straight up.
He's just holding
just
him
holding
like a board.
him completely sideways
and
on his back.
Mark Baker is doing that
so good.
stiff as a board thing again to make it. So this is now a recurring gag that we've seen, and it just seems like Bronson Pinchot is getting better at doing it.
Yeah, he's getting
without
stronger. He's doing Larry squats. He's squats while holding Larry. But I was like, wow, look
Which
at the
is funny
strength.
because he also looks a lot skinnier in these episodes.
I just love that to stop Larry Appleton, you just have to pick him up.
just pick him
up. Pick him up, turn him sideways. It's the only way to stop him.
Or just grab the back of his shirt.
Yes, any kind of grab. And Balky goes, you're not going anywhere. And Larry goes, I'll be good. Just put me down. As Balky's still holding him, turns around and just drops him on the couch lengthwise, right?
Yes.
But as he hits the couch, we hear a little crinkling sound. Oh, Balky goes, what's that? He lifts the sofa cushion with Larry on top of it to find a package of cookies underneath. Larry goes, that's a package of cookies. How did that get there? They could have been there. I did buy the sofa used, he says. This is a great line.
He's like, those things have been in the couch for years. I bought it used.
I bought it used.
Oh, my gosh. So then Balky grabs Larry and throws him over the back of the couch. Super funny.
He flips him over.
Physical comedy. Yeah. And he goes to look under the other cushion, and then we hear him go, aha! And he holds up a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
By the way, the label just says chocolate.
It said solid milk chocolate.
Solid milk chocolate.
Yeah,
okay.
that's what it is.
And Larry, you see Larry like a little weasel just pop up from behind the couch, his head.
Yes.
And Balky's holding it. He's like, is this all of it? And Larry's like, yeah. And then Balky's like, I can always tell when you're lying because you say everything twice. And then Larry says, I'm not lying. I am not lying. And then he makes this wincy face like, damn it,
yes,
I did it. Okay, when he said that I'm not lying, I am not lying, followed by this very expressive facial expression.
Yeah.
I lost it. I laughed so hard. That one facial expression was so funny. Oh my goodness. Especially with that line. I don't know. It just hit me so hard.
This next sequence, he makes the funniest faces.
Yeah. But he's like, I'm not lying. I am not lying. And then his face just goes, damn it.
He got me. He does have a big tell. And so Balky is like, well then, I will find the things myself, and I'll use your conscience as my guide. This is a brilliant idea. Some kind of Larry conscience Geigometer. Geigometer? Is that what it is?
Conscience meter.
Conscience meter.
And this line, I'll use your conscience as my guide, may perhaps be a reference to the song Give a Little Whistle from the 1940s Disney animated Pinocchio. The lyric is, it's sort of at the end of the second, it's a short little song, 2 verses, and at the end it says, take the straight and narrow path, and if you start to slide, give a little whistle, and always let your conscience be your guide.
Oh, little Jiminy Cricket.
Sung by Jiminy Cricket.
And that's when he's on like the little clock there, little cuckoo clock, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Wow, you were around in 1940.
Well, yeah, you've seen it. It's a classic movie, Pinocchio. It's a brilliant animated masterpiece. So then we also hear that same sneaky burglar music as now Balky is going to use
suspense music,
Larry's conscience guide to find food as he slowly makes his way around the living room, holding up his hand, looking at Larry as he moves around. He finds a bunch of treats in odd places. He goes by this container next to the fireplace, and Larry starts to squirm. Then he finds a bag of chips in there, and then he goes over to the fireplace, and there's a candlestick, and Larry starts to get sweaty when he goes by the candlestick, and he grabs it, and he dumps out like 5.
Okay, there's like loose M&Ms in the candlestick holder?
Like 6 loose M&Ms. What good is this, Appleton?
So weird. How are you hiding loose M&Ms in candlestick
He works his way over to the bookshelf behind the sofa where there is a box of donuts or some kind of Little Debbie type treat. And the whole time, Marklin Baker's squirmy, conscious face is so funny. It's so
giving it
good.
all away. Yes.
So
oh my
good.
gosh, his facial expressions are the best.
Balky tells Larry he should be ashamed of himself. And Larry's now trying to act humble, and that thanks Balky for saving him from himself. Balky walks away, waving a finger at Larry and saying, "Popo." He takes all the stuff that he put all the treats into and carries it into his bedroom. Now, when he's doing this, Balky is at the side table, and he has his leg up, and the red lamp is there, and there's something on top of the lamp. And I'm looking at this thing, and as soon as Balky walks into the bedroom, Larry races over to the lamp, and it's a donut. He picks it up, and he starts sniffing the donut and spinning it. And he's like,
in this little mousy, quick Larry sniffing
with his hands very close and tight to his mouth.
I can't even do
I
that.
know, he snips it so quickly. I'm like,
I don't know how he does that. Yeah.
And he is about to take a bite. In fact, the donut is in his mouth. His lips are on it when Balky walks out, and he just slyly turns his head and takes his mouth right up, slides off the donut. It's so funny the way he does this.
This was another moment where I busted out and laughed out loud because the donut was already in his mouth for the bite.
Yes,
and
his
he
mouth was on it.
Pulls it out.
It just slips out. Also, this thing is now hot and melty because it was sitting on a lamp
delicious.
on top of.
Delicious. That's how you want to eat
it was
your
a little
donut.
heat lamp. But it was so funny. I'm like, there's a donut sitting on the lamp right there, Bucky. How do you not notice?
I saw it right away.
The donut.
You know why? Because I'm a big fatty like Larry.
I will find the donut.
I like donut.
If it's chocolate frosted or chocolate cake, I'll find that donut.
Oh,
Don't
my
you worry.
gosh.
I'll find anything funny. But that was so hilarious. As Bucky goes,
So
give me that.
funny.
And then Larry, finally indignant, is done. Instead of giving to him, he snaps and he goes, I'm eating this and you can't stop me. And then Bucky grabs for the donut and they're literally pulling each other back and forth over this donut as using the donut as the anchor.
Yeah.
And finally, Larry tosses Balky over the couch. He runs over to the fireplace. He grabs a boot, and he's got got a donut in one hand, a boot in the other hand. He's like, "Stay back! I'm not afraid to use this." He has lost it. He's gone, Larry Appleton.
And Balky looks at him like he's out of his mind, and Balky has had it.
Yeah.
And he gives up, and he goes, "Go ahead, eat your stupid donut."
I love how he's saying a stupid donut. Eat your stupid donut.
Because he's thinking of the word donut, D-O-U-G-H.
That's how you would pronounce it. Why is that not? Yeah, why that's...
Because Duncan came along and changed it to D-O-N.
Now they're just Dunkin'. They're not even donuts.
Now they're just Dunkin'.
Dunkin'
Yeah,
what? What am I Dunkin'? Can you be a little more specific?
Everything.
Hey, dunk everything.
Dunks.
Yeah.
The dunks. I call it
the dunks.
So he's like, go ahead, eat your stupid donut. And this is a funny little exchange because Larry's next line is, what? And I thought it was going to be about donut. Like because it comes right after this funny pronunciation of donut.
So you didn't. You
But it's
thought you
not.
didn't know what he said. Like,
Yeah, I thought they were going to do something more with this word
no,
donut.
it's actually kind
Because
of.
he goes, what?
Yeah.
And then Balky's like, if it's important to you, go ahead and eat it. I don't care. I wash my feet of the whole business, which is another funny Balky adjustment of a common phrase, which is to wash your hands of something, meaning you're done with
I
it.
wash my hand, like Pontius Pilate in Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yes.
I wash
But
my
he's
feet.
like, I wash my feet of the whole
of the
business.
whole business.
Which is very funny.
But Larry, so this is weird. Larry, he's so. What does Larry want? I don't know, because Larry is now shocked because he wanted him to help him. He goes, "You're supposed to stop me. You promised." He's just entirely depending on Balky to keep him on this diet. And Balky says he's breaking his promise. Larry goes, "You told me a Mypiad never breaks his promise." And Balky has another great line. He goes, "Well, a Mypiad never lived with you."
Hold on. This is more than a great line. This is a whole great speech. So I'm going to read the whole thing because it's all very good points he makes and stuff to think about. So Larry says, yeah, again, but you told me a Mypiad never breaks his promise. Balky says, well, a Mypiad, and Balky, by the way, is like mad.
Yeah, he's like legit
mad at Larry.
mad, yeah.
And he's like frustrated. He says he's exasperated. That's the word.
Yes, good word.
A Mypiad never lived with you. On Mypos, when you ask somebody to help you, you let them help you. You don't fight them. And he tells Larry, you are the one who want to lose weight, and you make me do all the work. You lie to me, and you trick me, and now this. You have made our living room into a 7-Eleven. And he says, and I can't take it anymore. I haven't got time for the pain. So that last bit is a reference to a 1974 Carly Simon song called Haven't Got Time for the Pain. But the whole thing is like very interesting because here we see a foreigner's perspective of like American, I don't know if it's diet culture or just like American whatever isms where like but Larry asked him Larry asked him for help and then fought
and
him
then
the
fought
whole
about
way.
it the whole time and lied to
and
him.
then calls him out for not helping him.
Yeah.
And breaking his promise.
Yeah, it's confusing.
And so all of this is very moving. And
I love the 7-Eleven reference again because we've mentioned that they have a 7-Eleven on
7-Eleven
Mypos.
has been the butt of comedic, the butt of jokes and a source of humor for eras and eras since 7-Elevens, Quickie Marts, whatever. They're always funny. Balky then is like, I'm breaking my promise. And then he makes this motion of like twisting a bundle of sticks and breaking them, just like pantomiming. And he says, there, I hope you're happy. You make me the first Mypiad in history.
Oh, my God.
To break a promise.
Oh, this is a serious thing. And you can hear the pain in his voice.
And you can also hear
Lesson time music.
Lesson time
music. Came in. And let's see what the lesson is because Larry now he feels bad that what he's doing to Balky, and he says he's sorry he did this to Balky, and Larry's being sincere. He goes, when I asked you for help, I meant it. I'd never had to lose weight before. Whenever people said how hard it was, I never understood why they didn't just eat less. The past few days, I've learned how hard it is. I should never have made you take all the responsibility. I wish there was some way I could make it up to you. Now, that is also a very a big statement and very relatable to a lot of people because people are just like, hey, just eat less, exercise more. What's the problem? Well, everybody's body doesn't quite work the same way, does it?
But this comes with the lesson time music, but I actually think the lesson comes a little bit later in this scene. So Larry asks, is there any way I can make it up to you? And Balky's like, well, there is one way. And Larry's like, I'll do anything. And Balky says, you could go back on the diet. And Larry says, I can't do that.
I can't do that.
And then Balky lays on the guilt trip. And he's like, well, okay, I'll just have to be the first Mypiad without honor. I suppose I could get used to wearing the hood. And Larry's like, the hood?
The hood.
And Balky says that it's made from stinky, itchy goat hair and it makes your skin break out, but that don't matter because no one will ever see my face again. And he starts crying. And then Larry, by the way, Larry in this whole conversation is still clutching one boot
Yeah, and
the donut.
He's like cradling it at his
through
chest.
this whole scene. Yeah, clutching close to his chest. And he goes, fine, all right, I'll go back on the diet. And Balky cheers up.
He's okay.
And says, okay.
Right away, he's like very happy.
And then we have one more transition to a final scene, which is still in the living room, but now we have all four of them.
This must be day 7 now. I'm
yeah,
guessing.
because the girls are back.
Jennifer and Marianne are there.
are back in like civilian clothes, and they're all standing around the scale that's in the living room now. And Jennifer says, Larry, you look great. And Mary says, yeah, have you lost weight? And they're all like, where have you been? And Jennifer's like, Marianne, he's been on a diet. And Marianne just pauses and she goes, all right.
I love when she goes, have you lost weight? We're like, what have you been watching?
Yeah, where have you been for the past 22 minutes?
So Larry starts to get on the scale, but stops going, all right, the important thing is now whether I gained or lost weight is that I've grown as a person. That's the lesson. The inner me is stronger. Maybe that's the lesson.
Maybe.
Balky goes, well, we want to see how much the outer you weighs as he picks him up and places him on the scale. And
again, when you need to get Larry to do something, you just pick him up.
You got to pick him up, put him in place. Yeah. And Larry's like, he's not looking down. He goes, my self-esteem doesn't depend on a bunch of numbers on a scale. That's an important point. And then finally looks down and goes, yes, I did it. I lost 7 pounds.
So here's another thing that's very relatable, because he was saying that in a way of like preempting his disappointment or justifying
we've all
not having lost about it. And we've all done that. It's like the number doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter.
But then when the number is good, yes,
it's so
when the number is good, the number is good.
The number only matters when it's the right number, right?
So somehow he lost a pound a day, probably not healthy. I don't know. So they congratulate him. They go, come on, let's go to dinner. And they're walking out the front door, all of them, when Balky stops, turns back, walks to the scale and steps on it. And then his face just drops as the rest of them pop back inside and just stare at him and freeze frame.
Which is suggesting that Balky has also gained weight. But again, as we talked about last week, he is so skinny here. So it's like kind of like doesn't make sense. The whole episode doesn't really make sense to me.
No.
Because we're talking about two skinny dudes.
Yeah.
Who we know are in their 20s, and we know that men in their 20s have like super high metabolisms.
Exactly.
Anyway.
I would kill for
none of this makes sense, but okay, so then it's roll credits. So yeah, none of this whole episode kind of like doesn't make sense to me. The point was to like have some kind of conflict around a Myposian tradition, right? Or this Myposian diet. And I think the whole thing was an avenue to like, maybe one thought I had was maybe the whole story or plot or setup was an avenue to have some kind of conflict around the Mypos diet. But we don't actually, anytime in the episode, learn anything about what the Mypos diet actually does. Yeah. Like, we know it's fish eyes and pig snout, but like, what's the concept behind it? What does it do, etc.? We don't have any details.
I would have loved a little bit of that.
That's like pretty shallow.
Yeah.
But also, the whole time, like, super funny episode, don't get me wrong. There's so many great gags that we talked about, all the stuff that cracked us up. But, okay.
I know what the message is. The message is don't listen to Western medicine and be open to other Eastern medicine philosophies and treatments. And really, the lesson is Larry should always listen to Balky.
To Balky, yes. Well, in the world of perfect strangers, yes, that is the lesson to Larry. Listen to Balky. He's got your best interests.
And the American diet, they knew even back then, doesn't work.
Yeah. But the other thing, so we've touched on this a little bit, like, this was an episode about weight loss with a main character who is a tiny man.
Yeah.
And at first I thought it was like kind of progressive for a 1987. Like, instead of having a diet episode centered around like an overweight woman or a curvy woman or something, they made it about a skinny man because those are the main characters of this show. But the lesson at the end of the show ended up being about their relationship and accepting help and trusting one another, trusting Balky, right? Which maybe perhaps I thought was a missed opportunity to address some other bigger issues like body image issues and self-love, etc. But it's 1987, so maybe we weren't seeing those kinds of storylines there. We did in the 90s. We saw in other sitcoms stories about eating disorders and things like that. And then more currently, we have a whole show called Shrill, which is brilliant.
Oh, and season 3 came out with A.D.
Season
Bryant.
3 just came out. I'm gonna be binging
this
that
is
this
still
weekend.
back in the days where the doctors could tell you, "Hey, you're fat. How about you lose some
fat."
weight?"
Yeah.
Which they don't
Yeah.
really. They're like, "Hey, take a pill and maybe consider stuff," and they're very, a little more tactful.
So I guess like weight loss was still like more of a jokey thing. I mean, and it still is. We still see these stories, but there's like a more nuanced or dynamic conversation about it.
But I mean, we've talked about. Remember, they had Tab diet soda. We've talked about the diet soda.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the '80s were full of. It was the low fat,
Yeah.
high carb. It kind of confused everyone, rewired everyone. So then now, like 30 years later, you gotta unwire those wires.
I mean, I think this story works for like the jokes about the diet and the jokes about the relationship.
Yeah.
But it still underlying felt very strange to me that we're talking about two men in their 20s who are already quite skinny. In fact, skinnier than the previous season.
Yeah.
And now by the end they both have issues with gaining weight.
And you could say it's kind of sending like a dangerous message, saying like even if you're skinny, you're not skinny enough,
and 7 pounds is a big deal. It's like horrendous.
Right,
and
7 pounds at the end of your life.
Women want to
Especially
die.
women. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, like
I would
that's
die
just wrong.
if I gained 7 pounds.
So anyway, those were just my thoughts. I was trying to wrap my head around this whole weird storyline.
I did wish they had more fun with the Mypos diet. Like maybe there were some weird exercises.
Like how does it work?
What is the concept? Like,
what's the concept behind it?
What is their science behind it? I would love to know what they think, how the body works.
Exactly.
All right. Dimitri does make several appearances this episode. A lot of fun ones. And he first appears in the beginning on the main counter between the kitchen and the living room. And it looks like there's a little scale in front of him.
I bet going on a diet too.
I bet he looked a little chunky. I don't know. He seemed a little bit more floofy. Too much cotton. And then when Larry is raiding the refrigerator, he's on the counter there, but he has a little piece of cake in front of him because he's also raiding the refrigerator, late night cake. And then when Balky is serving fisheye soup to Larry, you can see Dimitri on the counter wearing a little chef's outfit. He helped Balky make the soup. And then in the next to last scene, you could see him on the counter. He's just there. So like a bunch of Dimitri all over the place.
A lot of Dimitris. We have some very funny Balkyisms that we mentioned already, but they're worth mentioning again. You wouldn't have to iron your will. He turns iron-willed into a verb phrase. People are giving Balky the pants off their backs, which is so funny. And Balky washes his feet of the whole business.
My feet of the whole business. Don't be ridiculous, said one time.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
We have my favorite Larry's catchphrase. Oh my
Lord.
I gained 7 pounds.
And then we see a number of other running gags, physical gags and jokes in this episode. Larry, of course, being panicky Larry. We still need a good nickname for that Larry.
We got Sniffy Larry.
Balky giving Larry a hard time about something. Larry sniffing, panicky frantic sniffing. And then Balky picking up Larry.
Yeah, that's how you get Appletons to do stuff. You just pick them up.
In his stiff board-like form. And we got acquainted with some Myposian culture.
A Myposian ritual. We got to see an actual Myposian ritual, the ritual of promise.
Cactus arms.
Cactus. Why couldn't I remember? What is this? This is cactus. You're cactusing your arms, you idiot.
We are the worst yogis ever.
Do the thing with the arms where you're like a tree.
Thing.
What is it?
Cactus.
Yeah, with the Roadrunner and the coyote. Cactus. Okay.
To be fair, our people who made it up probably didn't call it cactus.
No, they had some other Indian.
Some Sanskrit name for it. Something asana. Now we're at the segment of our show that we call Perfect Strangers Today, or PS Today, in which we talk about if this story were to happen today, how would things be different?
Well, I know for a fact, sister, I've tried a lot of diets, but I know that you have tried all of the diets.
I have tried all of the
So
diets.
why don't you tell us a little bit
All
about
of them.
the different things that people sell and say work, but do they work?
All sites of fad diets. There's juice cleanses. There's the master cleanse. There's intermittent fasting. There's longer fasting, water fast. There's paleo diet, the keto diet. There's vegan. There's raw
Atkins,
vegan.
there's
I've
raw
tried all
vegan.
of this.
There's ovo-lacto vegan.
There's pescatarian. There's the
Pescatarian,
Mediterranean diet.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
by the way, Balky is from the Mediterranean.
That's what he should be eating.
There's diet apps now. There's groups to join. There's hypnosis. And also now in 2021, Larry wouldn't scoff at the Mypos diet. Now it's like generally accepted that America messed everything up in their
Yep.
health and nutrition.
Yeah.
And so people now actively search out things from other cultures, Eastern cultures, Ayurvedic diets, Chinese herbs, whatever. Like it would be trendy. It would be a fad. The Mypos diet would be like something he would be interested in.
I would argue, though, that people today are still just as kind of confused about all
definitely
the
confused,
things and what
but
works.
they're more open to anything not standard American.
And there's a lot of people trying to capitalize by making these, fad diets that aren't really a diet, and so you got to be careful for that. So it's trickier to navigate this diet landscape. Also, he would have had a Fitbit that was monitoring
Yes,
his
his steps.
BMI and his steps, and it would tell him exactly where he is all times.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be about just the number on the scale. He'd be measuring like his
Heart
muscle
rate,
mass,
yes.
his bone density,
yeah.
his sleep quality, his water intake, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, all that.
And then also, Jennifer mentions that she likes a little tummy on a man.
Yeah.
To make Larry feel better. But of course, now we know that like dad bods are like this thing that people are into. So, and then there's like biohacking. All this stuff there could have been a whole lot of other things, but the basic premise would still stand. He would want to, I don't know. He's a skinny dude. But I guess it would be, okay, let's talk about the basic premise. In today's day, we already see how this story gets told in a different way. It's about body positivity and acceptance and of all shapes and sizes. So I think if they tried to make this story today, everyone would be tweeting right away and be like, whatever, he's skinny.
Yeah.
Why would he be on a diet?
Yeah, it's a little weird, but for the time and for the storyline, it worked. But
it wouldn't hold up.
Well, because you're looking, it's the '80s. You're seeing this diet fad. You're like, look, there's something we can incorporate. It's there's some comedy here, and they just do it on surface level.
Or he would just like buy a Peloton or something.
Balky wore a lot of fun clothes, and our friend Rainey is
Yay.
on top of it.
I cannot wait to hear about those pajamas.
Here is this week's Balky Duds report.
Hey guys, it's Rainey from Balky Duds here with a little Season 3, Episode 2, Way to Go Buddy action to talk about Balky's outfits this week. So, this episode, we see, I think, like 4 different outfits, or maybe even 5, because we see 2 different boring long-sleeve shirts with some of his really cool suspenders. They're all right. We see the Godiva vest, which is the blackish vest with some kind of brownish gold flowers on it. We saw that last episode. Not impressed. One of my least favorite vests. And then we see 2 very, very cool, amazing things. I'm going to talk about them in reverse order because you will find out why soon. So, first of all, at the very, very end of the episode, in the last scene, there is a vest that I can only call a subway map. It looks like a subway map.
Yep.
It's kind of red. There's a horizontal, rectangle right under the neckline. You can't see me, but I was just making a motion of where the rectangle is on my sweatshirt. And then there's all these lines kind of coming off of it and moving around. And it doesn't quite look like Boston to me, but kind of close. Now, speaking of the Metro, one of the outfits we see in this episode, I think it's the second outfit we see. Oh my God, I thought I had seen all of Balky's pajamas, but I must have missed this set of pajamas. No, it's not a set, it's one piece. It's like a jumper of pajamas. It's not footy, but it's one piece pajamas. Slightly off-white, and the only way I can describe this outfit is it's like a skinny metrosexual Santa Claus with pockets. I don't even know if we use that word anymore, but if you're over 25 or over 30 at least, you know what metrosexual means. Very nice, very cool, very sleek. Santa Claus, one-piece pajamas. Amazing. That's all I've got for you today. I'm impressed. I hope you're impressed. If you want to find me online, I'm on Instagram at BalkyDuds. That's all one word, Balky, D-U-D-S. See you next time, guys.
Yay, thanks,
Yay.
Rainey. Those pajamas were something else.
So great.
So it's a skinny metrosexual Santa, as she calling him. And the subway vest is fantastic. I noticed that.
Oh my gosh, so good.
I was like, look at that vest. Look at those crazy patterns. What's going on there?
Once again, Balky Duds adding so much more to our show. Thank you so much, Rainey. We love it. We have some shout outs. In fact, we have a few shout outs to the same person. We have a fan, a very dedicated, active fan named Evelyn Behar, who has sent us several messages. We're not going to read all of them, but here are some highlights.
We're catching up with Evelyn's comments. So she did post on our Facebook group about this episode when I posted. So look, the thing's working already.
Awesome.
The plan is working. One comment observation she had about this episode, she says this is the second time we see food being hidden under couch cushions. Also happened in the birthday episode. Who hides food under couch cushions, especially food in noisy packaging? I think
a very good point.
I think the funniest thing was Balky hiding full bags of potato chips.
Yeah, maybe that was like a thing
great.
in the 80s. Maybe that was popular. I don't know.
I remember seeing that all the time in sitcoms. It was like crinkly packages of food under the sofa, but it's great for the joke.
It's just a funny thing, yeah. But
crush.
who does that?
That's a package of cookies. How did that get there? And then the other comment she had in this episode I thought was interesting, and she said, "Is it me or does Balky have more edge in this episode than we've seen thus far? American acculturation at its best."
I wouldn't call it. That's a good point. I didn't see it as edge, though. I just saw it as Balky, like really caring about Larry and wanting to do what's best for him, and then getting so frustrated and fed up with Larry's behavior, which we have seen before.
It's more he had a strong resolve here, Balky, right? He just stuck to his guns, but then also even he has to finally break down and get frustrated. So,
and then
there's more.
There's more. If you remember in Snow Way to Treat a Lady Part 2, when Balky and Larry were stuck in that snow tunnel and they were chipping away and they were whistling, and then Imran and I had a whistle contest.
Yeah, we did do that,
and we asked you all to vote who whistled best. Well, Evelyn Behar answered that call, and she said she voted for me.
Yeah.
I vote Sophia for the whistle contest. And guess what? That's the only vote we got. So I'm calling the contest.
And she was right. I think that was the correct vote. And
with
the contest
me
is
as
over.
the winner.
Great.
I am the whistle queen of this podcast.
Yes, you are.
She also wrote in and pointed out from that very same episode that Marianne spoke a Shakespeare quote. And I think in our show we said, oh, that's a Shakespeare quote. What we missed, and thanks, Evelyn, for coming back with this detail, is that it was the quote, "One who loved not wisely but too well," is indeed Shakespeare, and Evelyn tells us it was spoken by Othello, who, of course, is famous for having been lied to and betrayed by Iago. And in the episode, Larry is the one doing the lying, and his character is well known for deception. So thanks for pointing that out. We missed that one detail, and we love it when people help us out.
That was a Marianne moment of clarity. I'm still going to make that T-shirt, so you can buy a Marianne moment of clarity. Iago, that's the parrot from Aladdin, voiced by Gilbert Gottfried. Is that who she's talking about?
Yes, no. And then finally, Evelyn also wrote to us on Instagram saying she's enjoying our show during her afternoon walk. And especially, she says she loves the Balky Duds edition. So we just wanted to make sure that Rainey gets some love. We love the Balky Duds edition too. And Rainey, people love you on our show. So keep joining us.
Everyone should subscribe so you don't miss a show. Because next week, Balky gets into a little bit of a crazy situation and gets Me Too'd before hashtag Me Too was a thing.
Before Me Too was a thing. Yeah, we get into some serious things on next week's show, but it will still have comedy. We are a family-friendly show, but if you do happen to listen to this with your kids around, maybe skip next week. We might be talking about some adult
it's wild that they decided to tackle this in season 3 and so head on. It's a very interesting episode. Like they have a few like kind of real serious episodes.
Yeah, that skirt on some heavy issues.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for today's episode of Dance of Joy. Please do get in touch with us. You can find all of our show links, all of our where to listen to the podcast and like and subscribe at danceofjoypod.com. You can leave us a rating or a review in Apple Podcasts if you wish. You can get in touch with us by email, danceofjoypod@gmail.com, or by voice message through the little button on the bottom of our website. And also on our website, you'll find all of our social media links. Please feel free to reach out on any of those as well. And most of all, if you're enjoying our show, tell a friend, share the love. And now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy. Die, 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 die. Hey, hey,
Hey, hey, hey, hey, hey, hey, hey.
And then he opens his arms on a wide arc in the air, kind of like in yoga when you do what do they call that? Crane? No. Anyways,
What is that called? Hold on.
the
Oh my God, why are we not
I can't believe you don't
remembering
remember
this?
either.
My brain is just,
See, we get this from
I
my
know
mother,
exactly what you're talking about.
and it is
Oh my God, why do we not know what this is called? What is that called? That's like crazy. That's ridiculous. What were we
it's not
doing?
windmill. No.
Cactus.
Oh my God!
Why? Of course, it looks just like a
Yes,
cactus.
I had my arms up, and I was like, "What is this?"
I was thinking
What do I look like?
tree.
And I couldn't figure it out.